Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Steven Inks, the first of the new year. Today's video is a little bit experimental, and it's basically a big, long art advice video. It has to do with time and using your time appropriately as an artist. It's not going to be a pattern for videos moving forward, but it's just trying something new and committing to my own advice in putting out this video. I hope you enjoy it. Hello, everyone. So, we're going to be trying something a little bit different with today's video. I am going to be drawing straight out of the get-go. I have not practiced this drawing before. I kind of know what I want to do, but we're going to be playing around with something a little bit different, and you're going to see why in a little bit, because I am talking about some things that you might want to be thinking about in the new year. A lot of people make New Year's resolutions, around this time of year. I feel like I'm getting a little bit too old for New Year's resolutions because, I don't know, I just have become aware of and, to be honest, quite comfortable with the idea that I don't really keep New Year's resolutions when I do have them. So, I'm at the point where I'm just okay with me being me, and I hope that you're kind of in that vein as well. My goal with this is to talk about how you can, if you do have some expectations for yourself this year, learn how to be a better artist in 2024. As a matter of fact, I have two goals in this because there's lots of ways you can become a better artist, but most of them are not very conducive to a busy schedule or a healthy mental state. And so I want to share something that I discovered a little while back, and this is the reason why I'm doing the video in this way. This is not a new format for videos on this channel. Expect some of the regular stuff that y'all have been liking in the last year to come up in the next few weeks as I figure out what my posting schedule is going to be like for this year. But many of us, as we are working, and we are not necessarily working as professional artists. I know there are some professional artists who watch videos on this channel, and I thank you very much for your presence here. Just because this video doesn't necessarily apply to you doesn't mean that I do not appreciate you. So please feel appreciated. The thing that I have learned about, and I'm going to explain it in a way that makes sense to me. And if I don't explain this well, first of all, I think what we'll end up doing is dubbing over it again, so you'll never hear this audio anyway. It's a way that I can help myself relax. It's something I heard on a podcast called 3-Point Perspective, run by Jake Parker, Will Terry, and there's another man as well whose name I forget, Lee something. They're illustrators. Now, Jake Parker probably being the most famous of these illustrators. He's known on like Instagram and TikTok for all of the drawings that he does and some of the characters that he's created. He does a few comics for Marvel, that sort of thing. And Will Terry is a children's book illustrator, and he mentioned this thing called the 80-20 rule, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today, the 80-20 rule. And the way that he interpreted it is probably different from how I'm about to interpret it. So if you want to be a successful children's book illustrator like Will Terry, please interpret it the way that he wants you to interpret it, which I'll get into in a little bit. But the way that I interpret it is from a state of I want to be an artist who draws, who creates things, who does not have the time to invest completely in drawing all the time because I have a job and I have a wife. I do not have children, but there are probably plenty of you out there who do have children, and you've got to figure out your time and how you're going to spend it. And it's not fair or right to selflessly devote yourself to artwork when there are other people that depend upon you. So that is my opinion, and you can have a different opinion. Feel free to let me know in the comments. But it's kind of what we're talking about today. The 80-20 rule is also known as, I looked this up, Pareto's principle, I believe it's pronounced, in the world of improvement science. It's at least a version of it, slightly different from how I'm going to explain it. It basically, in Pareto's principle, it says that 80% of problems can be solved with 20% of the solutions. If I'm saying that wrong, someone can obviously correct me in the comments. I'm not afraid of being corrected if I got that incorrect, but I have been learning a little bit about behavior and improvement science in the last couple of years for my work as a teacher. Basically, that means that if you are putting effort into solving a problem, you should really focus on the top 20%, and you can get yourself 80% there. And so in this drawing, I'm focusing on the main ideas of what I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make a bird driving a car. I don't know if you noticed that already. I am going to do the basics here, and I have not drawn this before. I didn't do any practice beforehand because I want to put 20% of the effort in and not focus on that last 80%. This is where my interpretation goes different. So in this podcast where Mr. Will Terry, the professional illustrator, was talking about the 80-20 rule, as he called it, which is very much related to Pareto's principle. I'm going to mispronounce that several times during this video. Basically, he said that you can get a good drawing, but at the end of the day, you're going to be dedicating 80% of your time to the last 20% of the details. And when I heard that, my first thought was, oh, that means that I can get, if I skip that 80% and I just focus on doing 20% of the drawing, I can get 80% of the details in. And I realized that there's some truth to that the basic structure of a good drawing is actually something you can achieve relatively quickly. And some of the high polished detail that you see in super detailed artwork, it takes that extra 80% of the time that you do to get a finished piece. And again, I'm not saying that he's wrong in just saying, hey, just be prepared to spend all this extra time on these little tiny details. But I do think that if you're someone like me who doesn't have time to really spend on a lot of work, and someone who doesn't have all of the energy creatively after doing a long day at your job of whatever it is that you're doing, you can do a lot as an artist just focusing on that 20%. So what's a 20% drawing look like? Well, I'm attempting to make one right now, and that means that my goal is to be done with this by the time that this video is over. We'll see how that goes. I'm using a pretty thick lined pen. This is my Lamy 2000, one of the largest fountain pen nibs that I own. And the goal here is to really just hit the big details and not focus on the little stuff so that I can do something that I am happy with. And you can learn from this too. A lot of the people I think who watch this channel who are using fountain pens for art are also still learning how to use fountain pens for art. So this is actually great when you're taking a subject that you're not very good at. And for me, that subject is definitely cars. I'm not good at drawing cars. So I picked something that I wasn't good at on purpose, by the way. You can look at what's already there. When you draw something, you know within the first, 5-10 minutes or so, if you're actually doing the thing that you want to be doing. And then you can take stock of the drawing that you've made afterwards, and you end up with something that is a learning experience. So I could take this car actually that I'm working on right now and be like, well, what am I doing right here? I'm not very focused on the undercarriage. I don't see how do I show that these wheels are spinning. I'm trying to figure that out myself. What does a spinning wheel look like? Is it motion lines? Is it lack of detail here? Maybe I should try that. And so while I'm drawing, I'm learning because I'm not focused on creating a work of art, a masterpiece that reduces some of the pressure on my fragile mental state as an artist. I'm sure some of you could relate to that because I'm just playing around. I'm trying to make a thing. I'm trying to have a good time. I'm trying to not get lost in the details. And hopefully I give enough details that 20% shines through, that 20% of my work. And this is not to say work less. This is say to do more by doing less. You can, utilizing this kind of philosophy of drawing the basics, you can draw more things. You could sit down and draw 3 things in half an hour instead of drawing one thing and having it take you several days. This is the game changer element for me because I need more time for drawing. I work a full-time job and I'm a teacher, so that means that my job is actually oftentimes I bring work home. I know I'm not supposed to do that, but ask a teacher in your life if they ever bring work home, and they might laugh at you. So sorry about that. But yeah, it is a problem. And then some of you, if you were, like a stay-at-home mom or you're very involved in family life, you have a family, you bring work home all the time because that is work too. So where do you find the time for you? Well, you may have to find less time in 2024 so that you can still meet your obligations to your family, to the people that you work with and for. I think that's okay. It's okay to take a hobby like your art and look at what time do I actually have and how do I utilize that well. That's one version of, I guess you could say, what's a New Year's resolution that I could get behind. What's that 20% look like for you? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. I do think that there was some success in this, and I'm going to be making an attempt to put that philosophy into my work this year. It won't always look like this. I think a lot of the content that I make on this channel in 2024 is going to be very similar to the content I've made before because I enjoy making that content. But I want to give myself some grace this year. I hope you will too, because we could all stand to go a little easier on ourselves in this year. It doesn't hurt to think about what's reasonable. And again, this is if you're not trying to be a big old famous YouTube artist star or even a professional children's book illustrator. You may have to take the more intense approach for that kind of success. But if you're looking for success like me, which is to have the ability to sit down from time to time to make art that you like, I think this is a good way to go. So, this is my little birdie. To be honest, I do kind of wish I had done this to a greater extent. I already see the details that I could add, but given that this was the goal here, to create something in a very short period of time that accomplishes my goal and looks okay, and that I can learn from. I'm learning things about the details of cars, particularly this kind of little roundish, boxy sports car. And I'm thinking about my process of drawing cars, because I'm always trying to improve at things that I'm not very good at. So I think this was a success. I hope that you're well. Expect more pen reviews to come on this channel, but for now, that's all I got. Thanks everyone for watching this video and listening to me ramble a little bit about art. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the 80-20 rule. Is it worth it to spend all that extra time on those details to improve your drawing by 20%? Let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content. Please let me know, because the plan is to go back to the kind of more long-form content that I have on this channel already, with time-lapse drawings, with reviews of pens, with discussion of fountain pen subjects. But this is another thing that I wanted to try out. So hope you're doing well, hope you're happy, hope you're safe in the new year. And I can't wait to share my next video with you.